of the top. Let's do the 16. Of course, it's 3 drivers that are almost already out. Bubba Wallace is one of those drivers. Ricky Stenhouse and Michael McDowell. No big surprise there. Martin Truex Jr. is now 7 points behind Kevin Harvick. Chaz Taylor.
So I want to read off a stat here. I know Bob Parker said at the time that I got this, it was unofficial, but after tech was cleared and there were no issues, so this is actually official. According to Bob Parker, no matter what anyone else does, Hamlin clinches with 14 points. If he doesn't get any stage points at Bristol, he needs to finish 23rd or better. William Byron needs 22 points. But if he doesn't get any stage points, he needs to be 15th or better. Brad Keselowski needs 30 points. And if he does, he needs to be 7th or better if he does not score any stage points. The rest of the playoff drivers, if they want to be in the next round, will need to depend on the stages. Blaney needs 38. Busch needs 39. Chastain with 45. Buescher and Bell with 50. Logano with 51.
And y'all laughed at me when I urged drivers to work for stage points.
And if you really look at it,
it's an advantage.
I wouldn't write off. I technically would not write off Bubba or Ricky Stenhouse. And the reason why is because yes, they are 19. Well, I wouldn't write those two off for Bristol yet because Bristol is basically like a short track version of a super speedway where literally anything can happen. But Bubba is 19 points under, and Ricky Stenhouse is 22 points under. If things go their way, they can find a way to sneak in above that cut line. However, if you look at Michael McDowell, he's got a little bit more pressure on him because he's 40 points under, which means if he doesn't get anything in the stages, he's just no must. At this point, he's practically a must-win situation.
Yeah, I like the idea of this, though, right? These 3 guys, they all could have a chance to compete at Bristol. Of course, Ricky's always done well at Bristol. Michael McDowell does pretty well. Bubba Wallace was fast. He was fast at Kansas. The dude was leading the race. He had a fast car, just circumstances beyond his control.
Kansas, I will put it this way. And I know Ms. Lee said it too, and I was pretty much in agreement on the same side of this. 23-11 in Kansas has some kind of good magic here because ever since 23-11 has become a team, I think a 2-car team, I should say. It's basically become a 2-car team. The 45 team has won 3 out of the 4 Kansas races.
Right.
Yeah, wrap your mind around. And Denny Hamlin won the other one.
Yeah, wrap your minds around that because Kurt Busch. If you look at 2022, Kurt Busch won in the 45, and then in the fall race of Kansas, Bubba Wallace in the 45. Then you have this year, Denny Hamlin won the spring race, and now Tyler Reddick with the 45. But Bubba Wallace is running up there as well. Something with Kansas. I don't want to say something with Kansas as Toyotas because I think there's more than just Kansas with the Toyotas. But Toyota has something figured out with Kansas, and especially on the Denny Hamlin in 23-11 side of things.
Yeah, we always wonder why in certain places you hear these drivers all the time say, well, we circled this track on our calendar. So obviously what it is they, in this new car era, they have found certain tracks that they hit on better than others, and they focus on that. So New Hampshire, for example, with SHR, right? They all of a sudden, SHR come out like they were, a top slight team. But you know, you hear Eric Amarola say, well, yeah, we had this one circled on the calendar. And you're like, well, what does that mean exactly? Well, I think what it means is they know tracks that they got an advantage at, that they figured out, maybe setup-wise or something. Maybe something works better there that doesn't necessarily work at other places or something to that effect. You know, some people want to be conspiracy theorists and say, oh, well, it's the script. No, it's not the script. It's, you know, these certain race teams know where the data says they're going to be good at, and so they look forward to that race and they put everything into it so that they can be competitive there. And I think that's something that 23XI has been hitting on. Obviously, Denny Hamlin, you know, got a win. He's the car owner of 23XI. Maybe he shared something with the team that hasn't been shared around to the rest of the organization. I'm not sure. You know, once again, I don't have all the answers. I just have the facts in front. The facts say that 23XI has taken Homestead in Kansas. There's no place like home.
Right now, as I look at the playoff standings, right now the drivers that have amazed me, whether it's good or bad, in this first round, is Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex Jr. I thought Ryan Blaney would be like flirting with the cutoff line, along with Rob Chastain. I mean, Chastain's kind of flirting with it, not as bad as like Pagano or Harvick, but Truex was the biggest one, and I know Darlington, they didn't have the best going that we've seen from them in years past. And obviously Kansas, with the punctured tire that ended his race about 5 or 6 laps in, that really hurt him. And it really makes you sit here and think, is any point gap safe at any time in these playoffs?
No, because anyone can win and be in.
I think you eliminate the guy with the season point winner. You take him out of the equation, and all of a sudden you got a lot tighter bunch because you expect that season champion to transfer all the way to the end and carry those bonus points. You get a guy like that that's eliminated in the first round, all of a sudden those other guys are a lot tighter in the points game.
And one thing I do want to look at with Truex here is he has 3 wins, so he already has at least 15 playoff points. I don't remember how many stage wins he's got. Take those 15, and for a regular season champion, that's another 15 on top of that. So he had at least 30 playoff points to start. And 2 bad races, he's now sitting 7 points under, hitting the panic button for Bristol. And a lot of people did not have him marked as somebody to be falling under the line this early in the stage.
Right.
And I'm going to go over to the owner side of things. Things don't look much prettier there either. That 19 team is under the cutoff line by 12 points.
Wow. It's not looking good. Not looking good.